Buckle up for another episode of Ghostfacers, a supernatural rewatch podcast. My name is Richard, and sitting shotgun as always is my brother in podcasting, Reed.
So can I get a dog yet?
Sorry, what?
I want a dog for the podcast.
Why would the
like
dog?
a dog
Why
for
would
the podcast?
Why would the podcast need a dog?
Because because I've got a recipe. Because the dog is good for the podcast.
I'm sorry. Did you say you have a recipe?
I said the podcast could use the flavor profile of the dog.
Do you want to eat a dog?
Let's dig into this.
Ghostfacers! We face a ghost, when others will not, we're ghosts! Ghostfacers! Stay in the kitchen when the kitchen gets hot! Ghostfacers! We face a nightmare, we face a dread! Ghostfacers! We face a faceless, we face a dead!
Welcome to Ghostfacers. Today we're discussing Season 7, Episode number 15. Repo Man.
Baby.
That's like a theater thing, right? Repo Man?
What do you mean? It's a theater thing.
Wasn't that like a show or?
It's a movie. I don't think it was a stage show first. That you're thinking of the Repo, the genetic opera.
Yeah,
I think that was just a movie musical. I don't
'Cause
think it was a stage
okay.
show first. It might be now, but I think when it came out, it was just made as a movie.
Oh, I just assumed based on like it.
It's a theater thing in that it was a musical. It was like,
Sure.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I knew it was theater adjacent. It was close enough.
I mean, a lot of theater people like Repo the Genetic Opera. You weren't wrong.
Yeah. I think I just associate it with theater people.
Yeah. I think of a reality show that I used to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think of a reality show that I used to watch. That's actually, now that I think about it, it's like super exploitative or whatever, but it was called Repo Wars. And basically people in the middle of having their stuff repossessed would have to answer skill testing questions to
I
keep
have
their
heard
stuff.
about this. Have you seen
Which,
the thing on TikTok that's kind of like that?
No.
But it's not Repo.
Oh, no. I haven't seen
Oh,
that.
they do that, but with pedophiles.
Oh, no. I don't think we should be giving them an out.
I don't think they ever get an actual out.
Sorry.
'Cause it's like
if
really
if they
challenging
get the skill
questions.
testing question correct, does the kid go with them?
No. It's like instead of a kid, it's the question asker.
Oh,
Like they show
okay.
up like a Chris Hansen situation, but instead it's like, hey, it's me, cop. I'm gonna call the cops. But it's like I could not if you do get these questions, and then it's like the most like insane questions ever.
I mean, I know, but I still feel like nobody wins. You know, like just call the cops. You know.
I mean, I win. It was a great experience.
Oh no,
I got away.
They thought I didn't know anything.
Mm-hmm. I just didn't know better.
This is good fertile ground for comedy. This is...
No, it's the whole point. No, I'm not gonna do it. Stay away. I've said too much already.
Some editing.
This episode aired February 17th, 2012.
Okay. Nothing special about that day. I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, it's the 17th. It's nothing. It's nothing. No one cares.
Can you guess who wrote this episode?
I probably shouldn't have to guess. I just watched it a few hours ago, but I don't remember at all.
It's a Ben Edlund joint, baby.
This is an Edlund joint, hey?
Yeah. It's a weird, like, playing with, like, thematics and, like, concepts and... Yeah, it's a Ben Edlund thing through
Fair
and
enough.
through, I think. Directed by Thomas J. Wright.
Oh, okay.
As if that means anything.
And his mirror universe brother is Thomas J. Wrong.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's actually WRIGHT, but it's fine.
Yeah, but it's WWRONG.
Wrong.
Yeah.
My name is Thomas Wrong.
Yeah.
And of course it's Thomas L. Wrong, because L's obviously the opposite of J.
Well, that presumes that K is the center of the alphabet, but it's M. Nice.
Hell yeah. This episode was viewed by an estimated 1 point. Take a guess.
What were we at like last week? Like 1.8?
8? Yeah.
1.9? I'm gonna say it. 1.9.
You think that the last week's episode was so good that it brought up the value of this episode?
Yeah, I don't remember what I said last week, but I'm sure I loved it.
No, I think it was a middling episode, and it's a middling viewer count. It's 1.74.
Not okay, but not down too much. That's reasonable. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, we both now watched the promo. And
Yes,
we've
we
got
have.
thoughts. So, what are yours?
Yeah, it's fine. Like it's just like like it's not doing anything special.
You really set
It
up
should-
your like reaction to it when I watched you watch it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was like, I got to keep it for content. Don't spoil how
God,
I feel about this.
I've taught you so good.
But actually, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I actually think it might be actively bad because it gives the twist away in the promo.
Oh yeah, I hate when
Like,
they do that.
The reveal of the like him being the guy is like in the promo. So
Yeah.
it's actually kind of it's actually worse than just being fine.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that, let's talk about international titles.
Okay.
Repo Man. It is it's a concept.
Yes.
It's a job.
I mean, how much does that job apply outside of a place like America?
Well, I don't even think it exists in Canada.
I mean, surely in other places there's also the idea of
Like repossession.
You haven't fully paid for a thing or you're on a payment thing and it has to
Oh my
be
God, I just
taken.
got it that it's repossessed.
Are you serious? You
Yeah.
only just figured that out now?
Yeah.
What did you think repo meant?
Well,
Is it because you're thinking of the old phrase, you repo what you so
yeah, you see, you get it.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that much about it, and now I'm getting it.
I'm curious how much this idea translates because it's a kind of ubiquitous concept in the States.
But outside of the States, yeah, kind of unknown, right?
Yeah, I'd be curious. Okay, do we have our regular 3?
We've got 4.
We have 4. So is the 4th Brazil?
That's right. We're starting with
Ooh.
Brazil.
Okay, so this episode is called Repo Man.
Mm-hmm.
In Brazil, I think they're gonna call it the Take Back Boys.
Yeah, which is not what this is about. It's not about taking things back.
It's barely about Repo Man.
Yeah. No, the Brazilian title is The Repossessor.
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fair
Which
enough.
is like maybe not a thing there, but it's at least more like literal.
Right.
All right. Next, the Hungarian title.
Oh, Hungary's early in this one.
Yeah.
So the Hungarian title is probably just like Repo Man. Like they have the same thing.
It's not. And it's surprisingly not one of those things where it's like, I mean, it's still fairly like basic, but not as bad as they sometimes
Is it
are.
just called like Possess Me Again or something like that?
It's not called Demon. No,
Yeah.
Murderer. No, it's the Hungarian title is
Dog Killer.
Yeah. No, it's Internal Enemy.
Okay. Kind of. That feels like a direct to DVD Seagal movie or something.
The Internal Enemy.
Yeah.
Dun at sea.
Yeah, exactly.
Under siege. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. The next title is a French title.
The French one has to just be like
It's one word.
It's one word. Is it it's not also like repossessor or something like that.
No.
It's
That's not how I fucking work these out. Come on now.
It's killer.
They did it this time. No, but it's invocations.
Oh, evocations.
Invocations.
Oh, invocations. Oh, interesting.
Which I always thought is which ones means like a job? Is that evocation?
No, that's just a vocation.
Oh, I see.
Like
Okay.
vocation is your job.
Oh, so this
Vacation
is
is what I'm doing right now. An invocation
I know you're
is
spending some time with your in-laws. It can't be that much of a vacation.
an invocation is to invoke, and an evocation is to evoke.
Okay, so invocation means to do something within.
Yeah.
No fair. Okay.
I mean, I'm saying yes. I don't know. What am I, dictionary.com? But
yeah, what are you, a guy that makes his money from words?
easy.
Says the guy who literally works for the news.
Is that the guy who paid me for 2 years to be a words guy?
And I'm the fool. All right. The last title.
Okay, well, it's got to be Germany, I guess, eh?
That's right.
The German title for this, some people and things never change.
That's just the way it is.
We
yeah.
We tried to be better, to live a better life,
Yeah.
but the call of the darkness has taken us.
There's something that's very funny about this title. It is a thing.
Okay.
It's largely because of it's Germany saying it.
Sure.
It is a thing that is said in this episode, means nothing to what the episode is. It is a thing that is from the B plot of this episode.
Oh, is it like "Let Me Back In" or something like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So funny.
Uh-oh.
It's Guten Morgen, Vietnam.
Really? They called this whole episode "Good Morning Vietnam." It's one line in the B plot at the end of the episode. They called this episode "Good Morning
We love
Vietnam."
this. This is a very big war. That's some might say is the biggest war that could have happened.
My favorite part of it is we are not the antagonists.
No, if anything, the Americans are the bad guys. Some might say Americans were the bad guys for all of them. Who knows? Hard to say.
Wow, they call it "Good Morning Vietnam."
Yeah, they do.
That's so dumb. That's such a dumb name for this episode.
I don't get it. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
that's
I
hilarious.
love it. All right, there is no featured music for this episode, but TV Guide describes this as a demon that once murdered women in a small town resurfaces and embarks on another killing spree. Sam and Dean visit a man once possessed by the demon to see if he can remember any of the demonic beast's plans.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Baby.
But before we start talking about that episode, why don't we open up Dad's journal and learn about some of the real world lore?
Yeah, let's see what the lore says about schizophrenia.
What? Bit of a stretch for this one, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing. We've talked about demons a lot.
Name one guy.
We've talked about demons themselves. We talked about possession. We've talked about like evocations, like summoning demons. We've talked about all sorts of different
Have we talked about serial killers?
I mean, who can be bothered? No,
I picked this.
I picked this for the B plot in this episode.
Sure.
Because it's the kind of the closest sort of mental health disorder to what Sam is going through.
Sure.
It's not one for one, of course, because what Sam is going through involves hell and Satan, but this is the closest I can get.
Some could say that they're dealing with their own internal hell.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, but
hell is other Lucifers.
Yes, yeah, hell is other people, and sometimes the other people are you. So
I'm in hell. Oh my
god. So I went to the Mayo. Well, I didn't go to the Mayo Clinic. I went to the Mayo Clinic.
If there was ever going to be a clinic you'd go to, it'd be called the Mayo Clinic.
Damn it! I walked into that
one. I bet you did. I'd be surprised if you could walk into it.
Oh, I ran in.
Yeah. I heard this was a Mayo Clinic. I brought the fries.
I'm pissed that I walked into that.
You did not need to, but you
I'm
did.
not happy about it, but yeah, points to you. You did it.
Yeah, Mayo Clinic says it's better with garlic.
Yeah, well, that's more of an aioli clinic. So,
Yeah, yeah. That's the
um,
Italian subsidiary.
yeah. So, schizophrenia is a serious mental health disorder in which people interpret reality abnormally. So, it can, I think, for a long time, in like the common parlance, I think people attributed schizophrenia to like multiple
Multiple
personality,
personalities.
like,
Yeah.
which is not what it is, right? And I feel like the sort of the common usage of it when we were kids was like as that, if someone was using the word schizophrenia, they meant like multiple personalities or something.
Sure.
But in truth, what it is it's that it's usually some kind of combination of hallucinations or delusions or
Your
other
beautiful
kinds of like,
minds.
yes, yeah, beautiful mind's a good one. Yeah, John Nash, right, where he like thought he was being like pursued by or like working for various government agencies and stuff like that. So some symptoms here. So schizophrenia involves a range of problems with thinking, behavior, and emotions. Delusions, hallucinations, or disorganized speech are all kind of part of the symptoms. So delusions are false beliefs that are not based in reality. So, for example, you think you're being harmed or harassed. There's a lot of like paranoid delusions are part of them. Believing that certain gestures or comments are directed at you, believing you have exceptional ability or fame. Like sometimes delusions are about, delusions of grandeur, right? Like all these kind of phrases that we have.
Totally.
Or thinking like that there's going to be like a major catastrophe or things like that, but it's not based in anything. It's just like you just have you've
Do you think a lot of those like religious like doomsdayer like cult leaders are schizophrenics?
I feel like that is assuming that they believe it, and I feel like those things are more grifts. I don't feel like
Sure.
cult leaders are necessarily the delusion.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
feel like they're grifters.
Okay.
Um, but there's certainly people that just, that suffer from schizophrenia, have those kind of things. Hallucinations. So there's different kinds of hallucinations. We obviously always think of like visual hallucinations, where maybe you're seeing people or things or items or whatever that don't exist. But there's also auditory hallucinations. You could be having conversations, right? Like that's the other part of a hallucination. It's not just the visual. There's the auditory piece of it too, hearing sounds in the walls or hearing like the things that confirm some of those delusions. Disorganized thinking and speech is a symptom. Extremely disorganized or abnormal motor behavior. So from being what they describe as from childlike silliness to unpredictable agitation. So it's like if your behavior is not like focused, if it's hard to do tasks because you're just resisting instructions, or you have like a weird posture or stuff like that. Sometimes those are symptoms of those kind of like cognitive issues.
Sure.
There's what did they say here? In men, schizophrenia symptoms typically start in the early to mid 20s, and women in the late 20s. So Sammy's right in the window. Like theoretically, because what's interesting about this point in the show for him is that we've also confirmed that it's not actually Satan in his head.
Yeah. It is it is in the form of what seems like a mental health thing. Like, is that actually what it is? I don't know, but
well, this is what I mean. What's interesting about it is that the show basically says like what happened to Sam was supernatural. He went to hell, his body came back, then his soul came back later, and there's some like trauma there. But what they also say is like he's not possessed by Satan, but he sees Satan all the time, stuff like that. So they're saying a supernatural thing caused essentially like a real world like mental health disorder in Sam, which is kind of like it's one of the only kind of weird blend things they do in that show. Normally it's like it turns out it's that you were actually possessed, or there's, you know, it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting of the show to try to kind of do both, I think.
Yeah, I guess it's a thing they never really address in the show is like, is it just like a straight up like trauma and trauma response, like mental health issue? Or is it like partly this like wall thing? Like, I don't think they ever like 100% say that it's just that he's
And I
having
think
trauma.
part of it might be just that they also don't 100% you
Yeah.
know where that line is either, as like writers and that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do think it's kind of interesting. So yeah, at any rate, essentially what Sam is dealing with is like more or less schizophrenia, but instead of being, you know, having biological kind of reasons for it or psychological reasons for it, he has like spiritual reasons for it.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there you go, baby.
Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Wow. That would be such a that'd be such a wild transition.
Do you feel like you're hearing people or seeing things? Call BetterHelp.
Have you been to hell?
Yeah. BetterHelp.
Oh, oh my God.
That's
This
right.
goes all the way to the top.
All right. Well, with that, why don't we get into today's episode?
Let's do it.
Which starts with the then. It's a pretty simple then. And we're seeing a character that we haven't seen in many a season. We're seeing glimpses of Lilith.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of interesting to see her back in there. Kind of a nice reminder of how creepy that character was.
Totally. But also it's like, oh yeah, a thing this show, I mean, it's one of the things that makes this show so great, which is that like we go back in time in the series and it's like there are things we talk about it a lot, which is like how much time spans between episode to episode. And like they must have adventures between those. And so
I do think it's funny that the setup of this then
yeah,
shows Lilith so much instead of it just being clips of the boys talking about her.
oh sure.
Because like really the only reason it's in the then is because part of this episode takes place in season 3.
Exactly.
But it's funny to like show her and then have it's not like Lilith is back, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, it does sort of set that up, doesn't it, a little? If you're the type of person like we are that like looks at the then and goes, okay, it must mean that the now is
well, exactly
relevant.
We know like how they build those then and now things, and then this one kind of like pump fakes you a little bit. You go like, oh. Even I was like, Lilith can't be in this.
No,
like I didn't remember the episode. And
totally.
Yeah.
We also get, of course, we've talked about it already, the wall in Sam's head, the falling of the wall, and then, of course, the subsequent seeing of Lucifer.
Yeah.
That is the then.
Yeah. Samuel Winchester, tear down this wall. I keep going for Nixon there. It's Reagan.
Samuel!
I can't do a Reagan voice, so I always go for like the jowly.
Yeah. It's sort of the Samuel Nixon. Samuel Nixon. What am I fucking talking about? Now, 4 years ago,
now is still then.
Yes.
So
now is
then to then.
Yeah. Do they say, actually? That's a great question. Do they actually say then when going into? Do they say now like they normally do?
I don't think they. Oh. I mean, I just watched this hours ago. I should know, but I don't.
It probably doesn't say now. It probably says 4 years.
I don't think it does because we go to like 4 years ago.
It must just say 4
town in Idaho, basically.
Yeah. Kuldalin. How do you say this town?
It's Kerr. That's like heart. The word for heart.
And then Dalin, I think.
Yeah.
Idaho. Well, I'm sure they don't. They call what do you think they call it in Idaho?
I bet you they call it like Curdaline or something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I bet you that's what they call that town.
Josh, are you from Idaho? I think wasn't Gil from Idaho or
no? He's from Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, whatever. Idaho, Oklahoma, same thing.
Uh-oh.
Fucking potato farmers, you all are all the same. Cordaline, Idaho. Nora Havelock pulls up in a cabin and goes to the door.
Yeah.
Sam greets her and says that she shouldn't have come. Nora says that she had to see after all of the years of reading and hunting. Sam takes in the Wiccan to where Dean is guarding a demon-possessed human.
Yes.
There's a corpse nearby, and Nora tells the demon that it's going back to hell, but promises to track her down and kill her.
It's funny because Dean we're set in season 3.
Yeah.
In this moment, because they're trying to track Lilith and trying to get information.
Totally.
And Dean is still, of the two of them, the one I would want torturing a demon. But
Yes.
It is funny a little bit that like torture Dean, we don't really get till season 4 because he has to go to hell first, right?
Yeah.
So when that becomes his specialty, but because that's already kind of like Jensen already has like kind of like the language, like the body language for it, he's like turning over the knife in that. There's just a little bit of like, you're almost like predating.
Yeah, a little bit.
Dean
No, you're not
thing.
wrong. Yeah.
I mean, Dean of the two of them would be the one to do this, but he looks like too familiar at it.
Yes.
Like he should look maybe a little less at ease or something,
Yes.
I think. But
absolutely. No, I think you're totally right. She runs out, and the Winchesters tell it that they plan to torture it for information on Lilith.
Yeah.
The demon lets the human host, Jeffrey, speak out. He says that they have to stop the demon and begs them not to hurt him. However, Sam warns them that they have to torture the demon to get the information they need, which means they'll have to torture him.
I wish there was a way, like, it's funny to be this deep into the show, and they've never like discovered or even talked about trying to find a way to determine if at any moment you're speaking to the demon or not. Like they kind of have to just like take it on faith that the demon says, I'll let you talk to this
because
guy.
the demon can bring the eyes blacken out if it wants to, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah, exactly. And demons are like fully capable of lying. Like in the case of this episode, the demon's not lying. They do talk to the guy, but it is kind of funny that they've never like, there's no test, there's nothing they could do to like see if that they're actually speaking to the host.
No, yeah, they sort of have to just believe it.
Yeah,
which is probably not for the best, but I guess they're like why would the demon in that scenario, I guess. But
well, yeah, and also I guess just take everything with a grain of salt too.
Yeah, it's really well, I mean, literally. Jeffrey tells them to do what they have to stop the evil.
Yeah.
The demon takes control back, and Dean tells him that Jeffrey agreed to the torture. And then the brothers start torturing the demon with the demon-killing knife and holy water.
Yeah.
The demon finally tells them that they want a demon named Merrick in New Orleans.
Yeah. It's also funny that like, so this is such like a long flashback like setup.
Yeah.
And this episode isn't even about Merrick. You know, you'd think it would be like, we tortured this guy to get it. And, like,
yeah.
It's funny how the episode flips it. You know, it's kind of neat. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, not at all.
But when you're watching it, you go like, well, they're
Merrick,
obviously going to find this guy finally or something, you know?
So the funny thing about Merrick is that's the name of one of Anne Rice's vampire characters. And New Orleans is her beloved city and the setting of many of her books. So Merrick is also a name of Buffy's first watcher, who found and trained her in both the series and films versions of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, interesting. I didn't put that together.
Yeah, so there's a fun connection to that name. Dean then exorcises the demon out of Jeffrey. He then drives Jeffrey to the hospital and tells him that the demon is gone.
I love that he's driving, and yeah, Jeffrey's in the back, and obviously like super like injured.
Yeah,
because Dean did it to him, right? Because they were torturing the demon, but it was hurting him.
Yeah,
they get to the hospital, and Dean just pulls over, gets this like super injured guy out of his car, and then
just sort of places him on the ground.
But he's also just like, "You're okay from here, right?" And he's like, "Don't tell anyone about demons." And then Dean just gets in his car and goes away.
Drives away.
All right,
it's very funny. He drops him off and tells him not to tell anybody about the demons, and then drives off. And Jeffrey mumbles, "Thank you."
Yeah.
So a fun. We've talked a lot about how this is somewhere in season 3. There's a lot of proof that this is probably just between episodes 312, Justin Bello, and 13, which is Ghost Tracers. There are multiple clues that say
Oh.
that the spotlights are back on the car again.
Oh, interesting.
They're looking for Lilith, and they used a normal exorcism. So,
Oh,
which places it roughly
interesting.
between those, because it's before they take the spotlights off. It's before they find her. It's before they they find other forms of exorcism. That before Sam starts using his abilities. There's like a ton of different reasons. Probably place it right between those two episodes.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
We now go to the present day. Now Sam and Dean check into a motel in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah,
Uh,
Cordeline.
yeah, and I'm sure it's Coeur d'Alene, but maybe it is
It
Coeur
might be
d'Alene.
Cordeline. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And get a call from Frank. While Dean talks to Frank, Lucifer appears to Sam, but Sam manages to concentrate and drive the hallucination away.
Yeah, you get the impression that Frank is like, he's good for a little bit, and then he always finds a tangent because Dean says something like, "What do you mean you can't find Dick Roman?" No, I don't care that they've like infiltrated like luxury yacht
Yeah.
industries.
Sure, because he goes down a rabbit hole and then gets lost in it.
Yeah, I kind of love that about Frank, actually.
It's like, look, you're getting him. He's a burrower. Like, he's just going to dig straight down. You don't know where he's going to
Yeah.
get.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to point him in the right direction. So Dean and Sam go back to the case, which involves that someone is committing to the same type of murder that their demon did 4 years ago.
Right.
2 women have been killed, but Dean says that they need to worry about the Leviathans. Sam
Right.
agrees, or Sam disagrees, saying that they need to take care of their old case. That night,
it's like he says it's like it's on us. You know what I mean? Like it's
well, exactly.
Like this is unfinished business. You tidy up your mess. It's that kind of like the honor code kind of thing.
One of the thing they always talk about, and the reason why we've returned to previous cases before.
Yeah.
So that night, the brothers pick up a report on the police scanner of a new murder. They pose as FBI agents and run into Detective Sutton, who remembers them from the first time. I like it because he calls them the Drummer Boys, because their last names are both famous drummers.
And so I love that he like makes that connection, but
Yes.
then doesn't go, these are definitely fake IDs.
Fake names, yeah. Like,
he's like, oh, what an interesting coincidence that you're named after famous drummers.
And as an investigator, I never look into coincidences.
Yeah, I believe in them.
Yeah, that's a coincidence means you're closer to the truth.
Yeah, rule number one of being being a detective in this small town is coincidences happen.
Yeah. Yeah. My sort of motto is, ain't that funny?
Yeah. Small world.
Yeah. That's the Detective Sutton way. Sutton figures it's the same killer since they didn't catch him last time. Or, some random guy. It's just a coincidence. Who knows?
I mean, it could just be two people, spontaneous inspiration. Like they just both really love doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, name one time a murderer was inspired by another murderer.
Yeah, you can't do it. It's never happened.
Yeah, I think it's just a random coincidence. Sam checks the victims.
What do you mean serial killer? You mean like 13 people coincidentally doing the same thing?
What? Because they're all around a single circle, a radius of 20 kilometers? Yeah, that's just happenstance.
Yeah, I guess if you zoom out far enough, everything looks like a pattern, I guess.
You could use your brain, Drummer Boys.
I do like when we get like we don't focus, like Sutton's not in anything other than this scene, but I do love the idea of when they encounter like small town like cops and that. Like we got it in earlier seasons where it's like, oh, these poor sweet fellas, they think it was a bear.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Couldn't have been anything else. A bear must have flown over this.
Yeah, a bear must have picked this lock.
Yeah. Sam checks the victim's SUV and finds traces of sulfur nearby. So now they know it's a demon. So it's even more likely that it's the same situation.
Exactly.
They go to see Nora at her shop and she explains that she knows about the new murders. She's been like tracking all of this stuff and like is already like a couple steps ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I like when they go to her shop and like she's obviously spooked. She's got a demon trap on the floor. She's like, "Hey, it's still drying," and
Banishment rituals.
yeah, she's been like prepping like stronger, better banishment rituals and stuff like that.
Totally. But she was in her over her head 4 years ago, and we'll leave this one to them.
Yeah.
Dean notes that she helped, but Nora admits that she's going to leave town.
Yeah,
She
and then
asks,
she says like, "Hey, have you like checked in with Jeffrey?" And they're like, "Who?" And they're like, "The guy you beat the shit out of until you exorcise that demon."
Yeah, well, he's in a halfway house, so he definitely said something.
Yeah, it's interesting too in this episode. Well, we'll talk about it more later, but they
Sure.
kind of undercut an interesting idea, which is like,
What happens to the people?
yeah, they save the day, but what happens to the people after? They just have to live with it.
Totally, yeah. And I don't know if we ever really address that ever again.
Maybe not in a way, not in any way other than they become hunters, which we get a few of as the show goes on, you know?
Yeah, definitely. He explains, Jeffrey explains that he's getting a dog and assures the man in charge, that Alan, that it's all about responsibility.
Yeah, he's at group.
Yeah.
We start the group session by having one guy complain that they can't get Cinemax.
Skinamax.
Oh, is it Skinemax?
Well, no, he says Cinemax, and then a guy corrects him and says Skinamax.
Oh, I see. Okay,
which is the same.
Yeah.
It's just there's never was an actual thing called Skinamax. I think it was just what they call it.
Oh, it wasn't a separate thing?
No, I think it was just Cinemax, and then they called it that. I could be wrong.
It's just like a nickname thing. Oh, I thought that like Cinemax was like actual movies, and then Skinemax was like adult movies.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but based the way that this show framed it, it seemed like it was the name, like the dirty name for it.
Interesting.
Yeah, like what's our version of it? Oh, what was the network that had Red Shoe Diaries on it?
I mean, but is that what the Cinemax thing was? Was like this, like the sort of softcore thing? Because that was like Showcase late at night.
Oh, that's right.
Canada.
Yeah,
Showcase was one of those.
Show it all case.
TLN.
Yeah.
Every once in a while on like A&E or something like that.
Yeah.
Those were kind of three good channels for that, or so I've been told. Occasionally, late at night, much more music.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get the Chris Isaac show or something.
Truly, or whatever. That sexy intro to French Kiss on Much Music.
Oh yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, truly, I didn't need that much time. He picks up the dog from the animal shelter and nervously walks down the street. He hears something in a nearby alley and reluctantly goes to investigate. Sam and Dean then grab him and make sure that he's himself, and then have him take him.
You feel bad for this poor guy. He picks up his dog. He's having fun. He's like limping. Like he's clearly like it's 4 years later. Like he's messed up from this experience that he had. And then he sees these guys for the first time. They jump out of nowhere, put a knife to his throat, like holding a flask of holy water up to him. And they're like, huh? And he's like, what? And they're like, oh, nothing. Sorry. They don't even really splash him. You realize they don't actually ever test if he's a demon.
It's true.
They don't put the knife to his skin.
No.
And they don't actually splash him.
That's true. As Sam tries to reassure Jeffrey, Lucifer appears briefly to Sam, but then disappears when he realizes that Sam is going to dismiss him.
Yeah.
I do love Lucifer in this episode because he's just like, come on.
We've said it on the show before, like as far as us going forward with these episodes, we can't talk about Mark Pellegrino, but like his performance is great. Lucifer is always entertaining.
Truly.
Like, yeah. I'm hard pressed to think of a Lucifer episode I don't like.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out, I guess.
Yeah.
Dean tells Jeffrey that the demon is back, and Jeffrey wonders how that's possible. He then tells them the name of the next victim, Marjorie Willis, and explains that he knows it because the demon had made a list 4 years ago and told him over and over all about it. When the brothers wonder why the demon would be a serial killer, Jeffrey tells them that the demon said it was his job.
Yeah. So So Sam goes off to find the person who's next on the list, basically to scout them out, try and find the demon. And Dean stays with Jeffrey at the halfway house.
Absolutely. Lucifer, we're now at the library, and Lucifer points Marjorie out at the a librarian's desk, and tries to get Sam to acknowledge him without success. This is definitely.
I'm thinking about it now. Lucifer is a little. I mean, understatement of the century. I was about to say Lucifer is kind of a piece of shit, but and then I realized how stupid that sounds. But he's like,
give Lucifer a chance. He's not all
but
bad.
Lucifer's like, she's a little bit fat, not my type, or whatever. Like he has a couple of comments like that way or something through this whole exchange. And it's funny. I was watching and I was like, oh, dirtbag Lucifer. Like that's how much I like the Lucifer performances. It bothers me when he's bad.
Yeah, you're like, no, he's just misunderstood.
Like,
he's not a bad guy.
I want to root for Satan.
Especially when Sam is such a downer.
I'm all for most of the hell stuff, but can we get some of like the shaming and like bigotry stuff out of there?
Like I get that it's like what that character might do, but like, come on.
Satan should be for everyone.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is more or less the view of Satanism as well, actually. But
yeah, truly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jeffrey tells Dean what happened to him afterward. He lost his job, his health insurance, he started drinking, he had a mental breakdown. Jeffrey started talking about what had happened and got put into a psych evaluation and then an institution, like Dean admits that he was aware of.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. Dean at first is speaking almost dismissively. Like as Jeffrey is talking about this stuff, Dean goes like, let me guess, you did this. They gave you a one-way ticket to like the psych ward, blah, blah, blah. I've heard it happen before. I know lots of people that happened to. And there's kind of a pause. And Jeffrey says something about like, you know, like you saved my life. And Dean's like, listen, I'm sorry about everything that happened to you. Like Dean has a kind of correction moment where he's like, it's super fucked up that like this has been your last 4 years. You know, like we blow into town, we killed that demon, we never check up on you. Like there's a brief moment of Dean being like, oh, is stuff more complicated than I want it to be? Like,
it's true.
You know,
it's true. I mean, if anybody understands that at this point, it's got to be Dean too, right? Like,
yeah, that's
this
true.
Isn't the Dean's from season 3 definitely wasn't prepared to be able to like manage that type of thing, or at
totally
least that mindset. He then hesitates, and then Dean tells that he might know where the demon is. Jeffrey explains that it had a special place where it nested and kept its souvenirs, and insists on going with the brothers to check it out. At the library, a bored Lucifer gives Sam visions of the patrons smashing their heads against the tables. That's a crazy scene.
It's a pretty like fucked up scene. It's like Sam's just listening, like sitting there, and he's ignoring Lucifer, and then all of a sudden people just start like whacking their heads against the desk, and it's all bloody and stuff. It's like really, it's well shot. It's pretty really scary. Like a really like kind of scary thing for Sam, who's trying to parse out what is real and what is not. And what's great too,
and you know, it's supernatural world that they live in, where that kind of thing could be ghosts, it could be like anything, like
it could be happening, it could not be happening. And then also for us, again, like it did that thing the last time that Lucifer actually showed up in an episode, where when stuff happened after that, I was like, is this happening?
I know. This is the thing.
It does a good job of putting you in Sam's shoes. Yeah, really, really good sequence.
I also just love the more like bored Lucifer gets.
Yes,
the more that he starts fucking with him or like finding different ways at it. But also,
he's like a child, you know, like a bored child acting out. Like, well, if you're not going to pay attention to me, then I'm going to do this. I'm going to draw on the wall. I'm going to, you know.
There's also this thing where he starts doing, which is clearly like pulling from Sam's subconscious, theoretically, or like the deep recesses of his brain. He's doing it to himself, but he starts being able to like recognize information before Sam's like conscious mind does, or like make connections to people that that he has theoretically already seen, but his brain has caught it before that he's actually consciously acknowledged it.
And I mean, again, like as a hallucination, it gives him power, and we see it in the episode because Sam is like, oh, this thing has insight. I'm actually, maybe I do need it, but it's
Yeah.
in Sam, right? It's all in Sam.
It is him,
It's just like
but
the
it's
hallucination has kind of like taken on this like trick to get Sam to trust it, basically. Like, yeah, it's good. I don't know if that's how things work in other hallucinations. Like, I don't know, like, medically, if that's a similar thing or not, but I really like it in this episode.
well, I mean, there's that whole thing, right? But I don't know the validity of this, but and maybe this is an extreme example of this is not perfect, but that example of when like people suddenly like pick up like skills that they didn't have after like brain injuries and things like that, where it's like they can
Oh
play
yeah,
piano or
yeah.
speak another language. Like, is there a component of that where it's like you've heard enough of something in a life where it's in your brain, but you just can't access it, and like certain traumas can rewire your brain in a way that it seems like you gained a new skill you never had, but it's actually just like
Yeah, like the pattern recognition part finally puts all those pieces together in a way that you never did consciously.
yeah, because that's always the thing where I'm like, it must just be part of that where it's like your brain, like it's the reason why like when you dream, it's like there's no new faces in your dreams, right? Like it's all
Yeah,
faces you've seen.
yeah.
By the way, after we're done recording, I need to tell you about a hilarious dream I had last night. But
Ooh. Why did you put such heavy quotes around hilarious?
you'll understand why. Sam manages to focus past them and then spots a man in a black leather jacket following Marjorie into the shelves. So as
And this guy
nightfall,
looks like a real like burnout too. Marjorie is sort of depicted as being this kind of very like uptight kind of librarian, like the
Yeah, she is.
sweater, the
Yep.
sweater, the blouse, the pencil skirt, all that
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of stuff.
Yep.
Easy.
I will
Easy.
not. I will not.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
Look, librarians are a thing for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's worth having a conversation about.
Easy.
As I look directly at my girlfriend.
Yeah, what a comfortable conversation for me to be a part of. I love that.
Yeah, it's not the first time for you.
I know, but I don't need to be part of all of these.
You say it all the time, but it doesn't matter.
I feel like I'm too involved.
What, just because I have explicit artwork about you getting fucked in my living room?
Yes. I mean, I kind of wish it wasn't just like the first thing people see when they come to your
Oh, and it
house.
absolutely is. Yeah. And a lot of strangers have been by lately. It's always the thing where it's like, do you draw attention to it or do you let it be a weird thing that people may or may not see?
I think the thing that maybe depresses me the most about it is that of all the people that have seen it or whatever,
Yeah.
presumably I know some of them. No one's ever
Some of
come
them are
up to
related
me.
to you.
No one's ever come up to me and been like, "Hey man, like I'm kind of worried about you. I think Richard's maybe a little too into you." No one's ever questioned it for a moment. They're like, "This is obviously fine."
I mean, if there's ever a question about who's too into you, I think it's more Jensen than it is me.
Well, yeah, in that picture, yeah, that's true. Fair.
Yeah, someone's gonna come up to Jensen at a convention and be like, "Hey, I think you're too into this guy
Yeah.
Reed, man. You
Care to explain this? Just hold it up.
As a bunch of Dr. DC fans scrambled to get access to the photo. So as night falls, Dean and Jeffrey drive to the demon's lair near a train yard. Jeffrey gives the dog some jerky and tells it to stay, and then explains that the demons only have to let him go so far.
Yeah.
At this point, he's only ever seen the outside of it, and then he describes it as like, I know that this is this place, but he's like, anything past this, I sort of like have seen as if you were like covering my eyes.
Yeah.
Sam follows the man and discovers that he's making out with Marjorie between the shelves, which like,
Yeah, it's
is
funny.
it-
He's following them into the stacks, and he
Yeah.
kind of hears like a oh, and you think
Yeah.
like, oh, she's getting attacked. And I mean, getting attacked in the stacks. Stacks, also a great golden eye level.
Oh my god! Also, as if we talked about another one.
I mean, obviously, we must have talked about facility at some point. I'm sure.
I
we
just want to
talked
get to
about
that
facility.
island. I can get to that island one of these days.
We probably talked about facility. We probably talked about cradle.
Must
We
have.
probably-
We must
must
have.
have talked about stacks.
Yeah, of course. Uh, but is this situation the Marjorie and this dirtbag guy?
I would say that like Marjorie Sam walks in on Marjorie being about like 10 seconds away from slappers only to keep it golden. That guy was about to give her the club.
Yeah, was he gonna get a big head thing? Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Mode?
Big head thing.
Mode is what I meant. Yeah.
You couldn't think of the word mode.
I could not. I got too excited about like you acknowledging that was a thing that I then
Yeah, fair enough.
I fumbled it in the end zone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Proximity mines.
No,
nothing.
He made her proximity mine.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna give her an odd job.
Yeah, you got it back.
Yeah,
you did.
I'm back,
Fuck
baby.
yeah. Hell yeah.
You think recording on Zoom's gonna like mess with our energy? No
Hell
way,
no.
not today.
Not today. Do you think that this guy is like a younger, is this a student teacher situation?
I think this guy has nothing. He's not affiliated with this university in any way.
Yeah, he hasn't been to school in a very long time.
Yeah. She's just like, meet me at work. I think she knows this guy from like his band playing at a bar or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. God, is that where you find librarians?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the place to find a librarian is a library historically.
Yuck, no thank you. Sam follows the man and discovers that he's making out with Marjorie between the shelves. Dean and Jeffrey enter an abandoned building, and Jeffrey finds the way to the demon's nest.
Yeah.
And
Dean sees like someone is like tied up in there. And Dean goes in, and this person
demonic
has, like,
symbols everywhere.
And they've got like tape over their mouth, and Dean's like, "It's okay, I'll get you out of here. I'll get you out of here." The guy kind of makes like scared noises, and then we just see a hand come and inject Dean with something.
Dexter style.
Yeah, I understand. I haven't seen Dexter.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh god, those first 3 seasons are so good.
I know, but there's just too much TV. I can't watch all of it. I don't know all of it.
Yeah, I'd much rather watch the same 4 things over and over and over again.
No. When I have time to watch new things, I watch new things. I only watch the same things when it's like just background noise while I'm doing other work. We've established this.
Yeah, just so the demons won't get in.
Yes, yeah. I can't have those little like caterpillar thoughts in my head anymore.
So we now go back to Sam, and as Lucifer continues to mock him, Sam calls Dean but gets no answer.
Yeah, and Lucifer's like, "Oh, he's not picking up, blah, 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 blah." And eventually Lucifer's like, "You had all the clues. You could have saved
them, yeah."
And he's like, "Look," he's like, "How come all of the victims this time have like a sedative in their tox reports? Like, a demon doesn't really need that, does he?" And he's like, "It's almost like someone needed to drug these people to..."
Truly.
And Sam finally is kind of like, he says like something like "shut up" or whatever on the way out, and Lucifer's like, "Oh, he said shut up to me." It's the first time Sam's like actually
acknowledged him. Yeah, in a long time. Yeah. I'm gonna close the window.
Oh,
2 dogs are barking.
Hey, who let those dogs out?
Close the window. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, baby.
I'll thank you never to say thanks, baby, to someone who isn't me again.
Okay, but it's weirder to call her daddy.
No, it's not.
Giving no context for that. So he goes over to the coroner report, and Lucifer points out that all the victims had tranquilizers in their system. And a demon wouldn't have needed to drug its victims. They're like, if you wanted to drag it somewhere, you can just grab it and move it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't need to drug somebody. Sam finally acknowledges Lucifer telling him to shut up, and then he goes back to Jeffrey's apartment. He finds the box for a cell phone scrambler, and Lucifer suggests that it's the reason why Sam can't reach Dean on his phone.
Yeah, and partway through this scene, Sam finally kind of turns around and looks at Lucifer and just says, like, tell me what you mean. And then Lucifer's like, doesn't it kind of seem funny to you that quote unquote this demon is back, but this guy's got like a cell phone scrambler, like the thing about the tox reports, all this stuff. He goes like, I think it's Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Basically. And Sam is like, oh my God.
Sam continues searching and finds a secret compartment with a spell on it in Latin. He realizes that the demon's summoning spell, and Lucifer points out that he knows both the handwriting.
Yeah.
Sam breaks into Nora's shop and she attacks him. Sam
I
easily
I
subdues
like
her.
there's a little detail in there where like Sam opens the door to the front of the shop, and then he opens the door to the back that we saw earlier where there was the demon trap. When he opens the door, Lucifer is sitting at the desk inside the room, and Sam's about to enter, and Lucifer, it's a very small thing. He just kind of gives a little like shakes his head like don't come in.
Yeah.
And Sam comes in and she immediately like hits him on the back of the head with a thing. It's a good,
Yeah.
it's a very small little performance thing, but it's really funny.
Because there's also this thing, right, where it's like your mind is constantly capturing like details, and some people can plug into those things and start acknowledging like their surroundings enough to be able to like recognize when something's a threat or when there's something to worry about. But most of the
Yeah.
time, your brain's just like absorbing all of the information all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like almost like a manifestation of like danger sense or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Nora insists that Sam can't change anything, and he threatens her unless she explains. She finally tells him that Jeffrey has her son.
Yeah. Who we assume, we later confirm it, is the kid
Yes.
that Dean saw all tied up.
Dean now wakes up tied to a chair next to the man from earlier, Nora's son.
Yep.
Jeffrey's waiting for him and explains that no one asked the Winchesters to save him and that he loved being possessed.
Yeah, he has a slightly complicated motivation here. But the short version is what we learned from Jeffrey in this scene is that he was like a serial killer with no like confidence. So he would like think about it. He made the list. He knew what he was going to do. He would follow people. He knew their addresses. He knew everything about them. But
No follow through.
he had no like he couldn't bring himself to take that step.
Couldn't get it
And
up.
when he got possessed by the demon kind of unlocked that in him, showed him how to do it, gave him some skills, gave him the confidence, like in a sort of weird kind of relationship sort of way. And so he allowed him to be like, quote, like his full self, like who he really is, who he's meant to be, that kind of thing. And so this guy's trying to summon the demon back.
Totally.
He wants it back to make him whole again, basically, which is a really cool concept, a really neat idea.
Yeah. I love the concept. Nora explains now that Jeffrey came to her and asked for a way to summon the demon back. She told him to get some help. And Jeffrey abducted her son and told her to provide the ritual in return for the boy's life.
And she gave him like a ritual that involves you need the blood of the exorcist, the person that banished the demon in the first place. So then Sam is like, fuck, he's got Dean.
Yeah. He then sent her the boy's ear because the ritual didn't work. And Sam explains that it's locked up in hell for betraying its master. Jeffrey told her to find out what went wrong, and she found a summoning spell that would work for sure. He then told her to send the Winchesters to him. Sam realized that the spell requires the blood of the exorcist, which we just talked about. He tells Nora that her son's ear, to use her son's ear to cast a tracking spell. As Jeffrey bleeds Dean, he says that he realized a lot about Dean when he was being tortured. He figures that it hurts Dean that people keep getting hurt, that he can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Dean denies it, but Jeffrey explains that he was depressed and suicidal, but Alan convinced him to focus on his goals and attitude. Jeffrey kills his dog to get the last ingredient. It's heart.
Yeah, he like walks away with the dog. We get it's a good like kind of silhouette shot, and Dean is like, "Oh, you son of a bitch!" And you
Yeah.
realize like this is there's a lot of steps to the calculation, right? Like he obviously set up the murders to lure Sam and Dean back. He
Yeah.
set up a bunch of processes to lure Sam and Dean to where he wanted them, but also that he's been playing his own halfway house experience. He's like, I'm finally gonna get a dog. Like that was like we set it up in this episode that
Yeah.
like it needed approvals, the other people in the house needed to be on board. It's a responsibility. It's all this like so you back that up and you see how meticulous that is, and it
Yeah.
really paints a picture of how kind of creepy and precise and
Totally.
patient this guy is as a serial killer, which is very kind of disturbing.
It's funny. There's a thing about schizophrenia that I don't know if the show ever really addresses. I can't think of we've come close with what's his name, the bank guy, but we never really address like we never get somebody who like believes in this stuff and then finds out by accident that it's real. Like
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I think that would be a fun storytelling thing, which is like it's not this, but it's like somebody who accidentally like it's just like this stuff and everybody thinks they're crazy and then they find out that they're actually right. It's not
Yeah,
perfect.
you're right. We got close with like the conspiracy
Yeah, yeah.
theorist one. Yeah. Yeah,
But
I know what you mean. I mean, it's funny because obviously the world is populated with people that quote believe in crystals and stuff like that. Or like, what was the one with like the fortune tellers, like the
sure, yeah,
conference or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
and
yeah.
the woman was like, "Oh, I see your mother," or whatever. Like she's
Yeah,
faking it
yeah.
until a real ghost was in the room, and she was like, "Fuck," and then she just died. I think we only see it with people that like immediately die. We don't get to see them like live with it later, you know?
Totally. Or like I think the closest to it probably, honestly, is Becky.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yes,
That's
yeah,
probably as close as you actually get.
absolutely. Yeah, it's Becky.
Jeffrey pours Dean's blood on it and casts a ritual, and the building shakes. However, the
Yeah.
demon appears inside of the boy's body instead.
Yeah.
The demon breaks free of its chains and hugs Jeffrey, thanking
Yeah.
him
And they
for his
start
help.
like dancing around, and Jeffrey's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just happy to be out, man. I'm happy to see you." And he's like, "No, like, get get in my mouth,
Yeah,
baby."
get in my belly.
And the demon's like, "But I'm done with you." He's like, "I unlocked everything you need. You could do it." It's funny. The demon speaks like very like proudly, like almost like a parent. He's like, "You can do it all on your own. You've got to it was
Yeah,
inside you the
yeah, the
whole
whole
time, you know,
time.
like it's like that kind of thing. Like you never needed the magic serum. It was just water, baby." Like
Yeah, you're doing it, Peter.
there's kind of that sort of tone to it,
Yeah,
which I think is fun. Um and when Jeffrey's like, "No, like I want you back," then the demon kind of turns a bit and goes like, "Excuse me," and like kind of slaps him around. So like, "You don't get to tell me what I'm doing,
yeah.
but I'm really proud of you. You did great." Because we sort of learn that this demon is like a
Talent
talent
agent.
scout,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
love that.
looking for good like homegrown talent before they even make it to hell. So kind of like pushing people with these dark impulses and that to be as dark as possible to become better kind of souls in hell sort of thing.
When Dean asks about the boy that the demon is possessing, it says that it plans to destroy him because there's no potential.
Yeah.
Sam arrives and attacks the demon, which throws him back. Dean breaks free, but the demon steps forward and realizes they've lured it into a devil's trap that Nora has drawn. When Jeffrey
I don't know when she drew it in
great
this
question.
factory.
That's a great question.
I don't fully understand how this scene happened.
I like the idea that they're having the conversation. You hear like click, 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 click.
It's spray paint. Yeah.
When Jeffrey advances with the demon killing knife in hand, intending to kill his demon for rejecting him, Dean shoots him.
Yeah.
Nora begins the exorcism ritual, and the demon vows to return. Dean tells it to go to hell, and the demon is sucked out, freeing Nora's son.
Yeah.
She goes to him and says that she's got him. Back at the motel, Sam realizes that Jeffrey was acting 4 years ago when they initially we're dealing with him.
Yeah, this is the other bit I don't fully get. So 4 years ago, when they get to speak to Jeffrey and he's like, save me from the demon or whatever, what's his plan there? Because he wants the demon. So what's the point of the acting? Is it just that he knows these guys are going to kill this fucking
I
demon?
think that's
so
what it is.
if he
Yeah.
stays alive, he can get it back later. Is that like
Yeah.
the idea?
I think that would be the best that I could consider, and which doesn't sound unreasonable to me. It's like these guys are coming and like clearly are in a position where they're like they know what they're doing and they're trying to deal with this, and he's not capable enough to like fight off both of these guys who seem pretty capable. I think it probably in his best interest, and I mean that's the thing with sociopaths, right? Which is that they're very self-interest focused and are able to like change the way that they act dependent on the situation.
Well, yeah, Dean even says it in this scene. He flops down the bed and he goes, psychopaths, man, always acting, always pretending they're normal when they're not. Their bags are crazy, pretending they're normal.
Yeah.
Nothing that sounds like anyone we know. Hey, Sammy?
Yeah, it's not like I actively am aware that he's dealing with that problem.
It's like, come on, Dean.
Lucifer then tells Sam that he won't be sleeping and suggests that they talk. Sam tries to send him away using the scar, but this time without success.
Yeah, I like this scene because Lucifer says, like, no. You think your little trick's gonna work now? No. You engaged me. You needed my help. You let me in. So I'm not that easy to get rid of anymore. For the first time in months, you let me in, and I'm here now, and I'm gonna poke my finger in your brain.
Yeah.
And he kind of makes it look like the room's set on fire, and Sam's kind of sitting there, and that's basically how we end the episode.
Except for one final line.
Yeah.
Which is Lucifer yells, "Good morning, Vietnam."
Guten Morgen, Vietnam.
Which is the same way that Robin Williams yelled it in the movie by the same name from 1987.
It's just
which has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, but goddamn if it's not a good episode title.
So that is the end of this episode. What did you think?
In general, I like it. There's some interesting ideas in here. I like the idea of like what happens to people when they've been saved, you know, by Sam and Dean. Totally. I like the idea of a person being saved that didn't want to be saved. You know, like it's not the same, but it's like in The Incredibles, right? Like he saves the guy from committing suicide. He just gets sued. He's like, no, I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
It hurt me. This is worse.
Yeah.
But the idea that like, you know, Sam and Dean are doing these exorcisms, they got to kill demons and do stuff like that. But like this guy's like, I've never been better than I was with a demon, you know, like that's an interesting idea. I like the idea of like the going back and cleaning up their messes. I like the idea of accidentally inviting the Lucifer hallucination back in. You know, I actually think this is a good episode to reintroduce a thing that's basically been absent since the beginning of the season. We've talked about it a couple of times in other episodes, but we haven't seen Lucifer since episode 1 or 2 or whatever of this season. Like it's been pretty early on. I think all of those things are interesting. I think the performances are good. I feel like there's maybe like one too many moving parts in this episode. Something about it feels a little rushed and sloppy, and maybe it's the addition of having this other person, like the like apothecary
Nora.
Woman.
Yeah.
Like there's maybe just one too many links in the chain. But in general, I think it's a pretty good episode. It's pretty interesting. I maybe also wish that the idea of the demon talent scout was more of a thing in this episode.
Yeah.
Like maybe instead of some of how this episode was set up, it would be like Jeffrey knew the demon was back because he knew his pattern. And so Jeffrey ends up in the middle of a case somewhere else. And they're like, how did you get here? And then part of the thing is he's like, no, I want that demon back. Like they're both working a case, but for different reasons kind of thing. The demon's moved on to someone else. Like, I think there's a part of me that wanted to see that stuff explored more.
Yeah, I want to see more of the like backroom couch camera shots of the demon.
Yeah.
You want to be a killer star.
Well, yeah, the demon is driving around in a van. He's got a big wad of money.
You stole something from this demon antique shop, and now you got to pay for it.
Oh, what a coincidence! I'm headed that way. Why don't you? Yeah, just hop in. Just the drag me to hell bus.
Yeah. Whoa, that's good. Hell yeah. I'm stuck in the drag me to hell bus step, demon.
Jesus Christ.
So what do you give this?
Oh yeah, I would give this. It's solid. So I gotta rank it higher than I ranked last episode. So I guess I'm giving this one a 4. I think I'm giving this 4 dead dogs.
Nice.
Yeah,
Hell
you know how
yeah.
I feel about that, bro.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much on the exact same page with you. I think that this um I mean, Ben is such a great writer when it comes to playing with format, taking those like recessed thoughts of your mind about the show and being like, yeah, but what about blank? Or like, what if this happened? Or like, yeah, what if someone was possessed that liked it? And like that simple concept to be like, okay, well, what type of person would that be? What would the situation, like the working backwards from that thought, I think is such a cool concept to work with. I do
Totally.
I do think that there's probably one extra piece than what needs to be there, but I do like, because this is similar to like of the concept that we had with the twin brothers that were separated at birth with the demon blood powers,
Yeah,
where it was like one of them used it for good, one of them used it for bad, and it's like what happens if you take a mental illness and then give them abilities,
yeah,
like that sort of concept I think is really interesting. But I think the performances are great. I mean, fucking like Pellegrino's performances,
yeah.
refreshing.
Solid.
Uh,
So good. Yeah.
that's a soda water joke.
Oh,
Uh,
I I hate that. Um,
and by that you mean you kind of like it.
I hate that I missed it. Is mostly what I mean there.
Yeah, I think that I mean Sam's kind of not doing much in this episode. Like from a Sam standpoint, he doesn't really provide a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's being a real Sam about it.
Yeah. I think that Dean's got a lot of interesting like growth that he's and they're juxtaposing that from versions. I think it's like, yeah, previous Dean just beat the shit out of this guy and left him at the side of the road. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
current Dean is like, fuck, like I really fucked up, and acknowledging that like mental health and like the results of his actions, I think, have consequences.
yeah.
So I think that's worth talking about too. So I'm gonna give this 4.25 sexy librarians.
Whoa.
Yeah.
4.25 odd jobs in the stacks.
Yeah, that's right. All right, those were our reviews, but before we go, we've got a note from a fellow hunter.
Ooh, hit me. All right. God, I hope it's about genetics. I had that genetics question.
Let's just say that's coming, but not today.
I mean, how dare you? You're holding out on me.
We've got a lot of notes. I can't just skip the head of the line.
Is this like how you were holding out on me about that cool comic book shop I told you about?
Gotta subscribe to Dr. DC to hear more about
Because
that.
I'm not over that either.
I must have sent you them before. I think you
I'm
also just don't
I'm
always
I'm
listen.
furious.
Let me go back and I'll bet if I look in our messages, it's probably mentioned.
No need to look there. I'm sure it's fine.
All right. The note from a fellow hunter. Hello, it's heaven again.
Heaven. This is from heaven. And my letter reads so that I can hardly speak.
Please tell me your parents are right there too.
No, they went to bed. I'm just kind of like half trying to be quiet.
I'm still not caught up yet, but I'm getting there. LOL. I just finished season 6, episode 21. let it bleed. And I've
Yeah.
always had a problem with this episode regarding the erasing of Ben and Lisa's memories. Talking about the consequences of Dean's actions. Here we go.
Yep.
What was the point? If it was to protect them, then Dean should have had his memories wiped as well, right?
Yes.
I
Because they
figured
could
you'd like
still
this.
go and get hurt. Someone will hurt them to get at Dean. Yes.
Totally.
Yes. This is the exact logic for why superhero secret identities don't make sense if their logic is to protect the people closest to them.
Yes. Because even if they don't remember him, he still remembers them and still loves them. But therefore, Crowley or any enemy could still use them to get to Dean. The only difference is that they would be clueless as to why.
Yes. Yeah.
If he did it just if he did it just so that they didn't have have to remember what happened, then okay, I guess. But it still doesn't make sense to me. Am I the only one? LOL. Jensen's acting is phenomenal, and it does break my heart. But I'm always left with a "what was the reason" mindset afterwards.
I think you're totally right.
Yeah, can't wait to completely catch up and hang out with you nerds every week. Heaven.
I completely agree, Evan. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Thank heaven.
Incisive commentary.
Thank heaven for that letter.
I did. Don't tell me what to do, Dad.
All right. Well, that is it. If you want to continue this discussion on our Discord about maybe some of Dean's other bad actions, you can join our incredible online forum on patreon.com/ghostfacers. I realized I was like, I don't think I set you up for it, and then now I'm just in the dark trying to make my way without a flashlight.
There's like a meandering segue to this.
Name one other time I've had that problem.
It's patreon.com/ghostfacers. For only $1 a month, you get access to Angel Radio, our awesome community Discord server, where, yes, you could talk about this and other things, and it helps to support us.
If you have a note about a past or future episode, or you just want to let us know about some of your very specific expertise within a field that's related to the things that we've talked about, we always appreciate those at an email through ghostfacerspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, librarians, let us know what section is the best for boning down.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Is it like in Friends? Is it the archaeology section where Ross finds that people are only having sex in front of his doctoral thesis?
I do always like that. That's a good one. But also, if you have like a more professional answer about the mental health and what schizophrenics actually deal with, let us know.
Yeah, but also like boning.
Yeah.
So.
Also, if you're a mental health professional, where do you fuck?
Hey, listen, I don't want to sound insensitive, but I know what I would do in that padded room. Yikes.
Yeah, get up inside this dome.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm going to administer some shocker therapy. I'm really sorry.
Holy shit.
I scratched at the wall in my brain, and that wall was the filter that stopped things from spilling out of my mouth.
Yeah, I want some bad behavior therapy. Yeah, give me that EMD.
Jesus Christ.
Or reach out to us through our various social media platforms.
Ghostfacers Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on wherever you listen to us every single week. And while you're on there, why don't you give us a 5-star review, and we will read that on a future episode. If it's not Apple Podcasts or Facebook, then take a screenshot and send it over to us, and we will read it Also, if you want your coincidences are just that detective agencies t-shirt.
Yeah, yeah. I only believe in coincidences.
Yeah,
Yeah.
detective agency.
Detective agency. Yeah.
Or you want your demon casting couch applications.
Yeah. Or do you want a set of scrubs that says I'm about to administer shocker therapy?
Yeah, no, that's the one we want. Yeah, I can use the old Dane Cook symbol.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, the Sufi kind of.
That's why you remembered what it's called.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, everybody. I'm letting you all down. I feel like
Look, you were a Dave Matthews Band fan. I know what the kind of comedy you liked.
it's yeah. Well, fair enough.
Uh, Also, if you want even more content or to find out about this other comic book shop that I've been keeping from Reed, we'll listen to our other podcast, Dr. DC.
That's right. We talk about DC Comics and superheroes. We answer listener questions. You don't need to know anything about it. We're just as dumb over there. But yeah, hop on over to Dr. DC Podcast, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
That's right. That's it for this week. Say goodbye, bitch. Jerk.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.
Ruh-roh.
I'm too busy eating cat over here.